Welcome to Happy Homes and Gardens. I am your host. My name is Daphne Royse. I am a real estate broker, architecture, and interior designer. SambaNova Systems was founded in 2017 and is the first platform purposely built for generative AI. They are one of the unicorns and have a valuation over $5 billion. Let's welcome Rodrigo Liang, who is the co-founder and CEO of SambaNova Systems, and let him share his insights of our future with AI.
Great, Daphne. Thanks for having me.
Please tell us who you are and what does SambaNova Systems do?
Yeah, so SambaNova, we are a platform company that allows enterprises to be able to get their hardware and software and models in a single integrated appliance that allows you to then start training your private data into these models in a secure and private way. So we help companies that are trying to figure out how to transition from this pre-AI to post-AI world, and we'll give you a much more full stack completed solution so you don't have to get into all of the technical details of exactly how many GPUs do I need and which models do I choose. SambaNova platform give you a much more turnkey solution in order to actually start getting on your AI journey.
So what was your background? How did you involve with the AI?
Well, so I've been in the high performance computing world for almost 30 years now. I started with building chips and for enterprise computing back in the early mid 90s, and then over the past almost 30 years now, building a number of different chip architectures from HP's chips to eventually Sun and Oracle's microprocessors, and during that period, learned a lot about enterprise and large company needs as far as data privacy, data security, how to manage complex environments with a lot of users and a lot of different applications. And so we applied a lot of that learning into SambaNova to figure out how to give enterprises a secure way to run their AI and in a private way to run their AI so that they can actually maintain control of all the data that they have without having to disclose that into the open environment.
How early did you start working in generative AI, and how much difference is between now and then, and why AI?
Well, AI, has been around for a long, long time, for decades. I think this latest wave of it is by far the biggest wave. It's something that we've never seen before. And I'll say, look, this wave very much feels like the internet wave and could potentially be bigger, just because the capabilities of AI is just so much more pervasive, right? It touches every industry, touches every geography, touches every human on this planet. And so I think we're going to start seeing the impacts of AI in a broad way, just like the internet did about 20 years ago. And so, but this latest wave, I started really exploring this almost 10 years ago, maybe 10, 12 years ago, and this is something that was very clear was already coming. But with the SambaNova, we founded this in 2017, and we've been really focused on kind of this most recent incarnation around generative AI over the last 7 years. And today we have a hardware platform that is the most credible alternative to NVIDIA when you want to run enterprise generative AI. But we're doing it in a different way. We give customers their full stack solution so they don't have to have all the expertise to program these chips, that we give you the application in a box so that you can actually use it right out of the box.
And how did SambaNova, the name, come from?
Oh yeah, SambaNova. It's I grew up in Brazil, and this is as many of you know, samba and samba is something that a dance that Brazilians are known for. And so when we started the company, we were looking for something that reflected some of that background, And naming a company is always one of the most difficult challenges any startup can have. And but it's a new dance, it's a new way of doing things. We think that AI is such a big transition on this planet that there is going to be opportunities for new ways of doing things, new dances, if you want to call it, to be able to come in and impact the industry.
How interesting. Talk about startups is always difficult and challenge. What were the challenges to start SambaNova Systems?
Well, I mean, any startup is always yeah, it's exciting and it's also challenging. You have to do everything from all the hiring to fundraising to working out the details of the tech to getting your name out, getting your brand out, getting your differentiators out. I think I mean that continues to be something that for us is always a challenge when people know NVIDIA really, really well as the default hardware platform that people use today because they've been around for 25, 30 years and people use it everywhere, right? But as a new company with a different technology, we are really proud that for customers that are starting to see the technology and start to run into these challenges with the cost of NVIDIA chips, the availability of NVIDIA chips, the power, and all of the things that are required to deploy those, our solution becomes really viable because it's such a much lower power solution where you can actually take dozens and dozens of NVIDIA GPUs and collapse it into a much smaller footprint because we're able to condense kind of many users into a smaller system, right? And so I think those are the things that we're now able to do, but always a challenge when you are new and your brand is not recognized yet, and other people are having to learn what it is that you bring to the table.
SambaNova Systems is the fastest AI systems globally. What do you see in 10 years?
Well, I think the world's going to be AI enabled, full stop. Right, it's going to be in everything we do, just like the internet, world's internet enabled. There's not a day that passes that we don't touch something that's internet enabled, right? And our day usually begins with something that's internet enabled, right? We touch our phone or and so I think the world's going to be AI enabled. The first thing that you do when you wake up is going to be, some sort of AI enabled application, whether that's your phone or your alarm or whatever it is that you're doing, right? And so I think that's kind of the directionally where we're going. I think if you look at enterprises, everything that you do in a company will be AI enabled. Everything that you do. You no longer need to schedule your own calendar. You no longer need to be learning a new tool that's online. You don't need to learn how to actually, make different functions, learn the menus of the different applications. You don't need to do any of that because these models, just by interacting and talking to them, they will have function calls that allow you to interface to all the systems that exist out on the planet. And you no longer need to figure out where's the button that I need to use to configure this. You don't need to do that anymore, right? Because I think all of the applications that we use today will be AI enabled, and you'll be able to interact with it just by simple text and simple chat.
It sounds like we're going to be heavily involved with the AI. What is your view on our education systems with AI?
Well, I think it's going to be pervasive, right? It's going to be everywhere. And I think, I mean, we've seen some signals where, where the utility of it is already, significant. You look at when Amazon released Alexa, a lot of people are using because it's just easier to talk to something than to kind of find a laptop to type or click, right? And so and then the generative AI piece, when OpenAI showed up with ChatGPT, 100 million people joined, right? I mean, 100 million people, it's not a small number of people that are just enthusiasts. A lot of people were joining and interacting with it, right? And so now you start putting those things together and you say, well, how many things in the world today that we do every single day? Well, we kind of, we do it because out of habit, but there's there's going to be a much simpler interface. And as soon as that's exposed to people, that integration of it would just be automatic, right? That people, people will find that using voice is going to be easier than using keyboard, and then being able to actually get generation to kind of do what your customer want is much simpler than actually having to pick something from a menu of a window that you have to click down, right? And so I think those very static things that we got used to, because you have to pull down bar and these are only the 8 choices of whatever you could do, whatever, all of those things will gradually disappear because even the application vendors are starting to integrate AI into them, so that you don't have to be as rigid in kind of how you interact with the application. So this is all moving really, really fast. And we're going to find that basically the interactions that we have with the systems, the interaction we have with applications, the interactions we have with any of our workflows will be much more easier to interact with, just because the artificial intelligence systems would just be that much more intelligent to understand what you mean.
That reminds me of just like our car. Older car, you coming with lots of buttons, and now newer car coming with almost nothing.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. If you think about even like the manual transmissions and you have to put it in the right place and have to, yeah, all of those things now it's all automatic. And but even now you look at self-driving, right? You just, so some of the newer cars, if people trust it, not everybody feels comfortable yet, but you can, just put an address and self-driving takes over and drives you to the destination, right? And in San Francisco you see the Waymo taxis with no driver, and so you're starting to get even next level of integration where you no longer even need to kind of get behind a wheel. You no longer need to even figure out how to push a pedal or brakes, or because the system is ultimately doing what you wanted to do, which is get you to a certain place.
So at your point of view, what is the value of AI and chips market for NVIDIA?
Well, I mean, if you at the high level, what you're going to see is AI is going to increase productivity of every knowledge worker on this planet by 10x, right? Just like internet increased the productivity of everybody by 10x, right? I mean, there was a day when we had to kind of, go and print, you gotta have to, get the paper, copy it, print it, and then, now and the internet made it all, available, and then the phone, further so by making it, mobile, right? And so now AI is going to give you the intelligence that otherwise you'd have to kind of print tons of paper to go figure out kind of what it is. They're just going to give you the answer very, very quickly. And so if you look at the transition that's going to drive in the world, right, where everybody's going to have access to this level of knowledge and capability and intuition, that demand for that capability that everybody on this planet wants is going to have to be fueled by something, right? And at the center of it, there are chips. And frankly, NVIDIA is at the lead, but there aren't that many people who can actually run these things properly, right? If you think about NVIDIA behind it, right? Who else can take these models and run them really well, right? Just not that many people that can do it. One, because chip design is hard. This stuff is really, really hard to do, and there aren't many companies that have people have done this for a long, long time. And then second, AI is hard, right? The technology of getting artificial intelligence models to train correctly and then perform correctly is really, really hard. And today, SambaNova, if you look at SambaNova, where we are able to take models and inference at world record speeds, right? Where people are, if you go on ChatGPT with NVIDIA, it's you get something close to about 100 words per second when you ask it, and we're on Samba 1, and we can actually do 1,000 tokens per second, right? When you actually look at the comparison there, where you're actually able to get that much more information that much more quickly, I think it's one of those things where you start seeing, oh, okay, I get why this wave is going to be unstoppable, right? Because you can actually get so much of the things that otherwise would take you hours to research, hours to integrate, hours to study and read and figure out. You can just ask them, just give you, right? They'll give you the answer. And and you can do really, really fast. You don't even have to wait for it. You don't have to wait an hour. You don't have to wait, a minute. You wait 3 seconds and it'll give you the answer, right? And so some of these things being just so disruptive in the capabilities, ultimately is going to drive this demand that companies like us, companies like NVIDIA, are the few players that can really satisfy the capability, because it's really, really hard to do.
Do you think we will have a double or triple productions if we use systems with generative AI?
You mean the productivity, or you mean you mean
Productivity.
productivity? I think individual productivity is going to jump 10x. I think it's going to be 10x, right? Think about, like, if you have to write up a contract, and you talked about your business, and you have to kind of, people use templates these days, templates and film, but like if you have people in companies where they're having to draft a lot of deltas, a lot of changes to that contract, and the machine can do it in 3 seconds, right? Even the smallest changes to a contract is more than 3 seconds, right? Probably more than 10x, which is 30 seconds, right? And so if you think about, like, it probably takes at least 10 minutes, right, to make any edits, and this thing is doing it in 3 seconds. And so I think 10x is probably even undershooting it a little bit, because if you think about, like, almost everything that we need to do, I need to find, let's talk about let's plan a 7-day holiday to whatever, to Italy, right? I mean, for any one of us to plan that, it will probably take a couple hours to look at all the sites, figure out kind of where we want to go. I mean, 3 seconds, it will give you a 7-day itinerary of where to eat, where to go. Well, I mean, right. So if you look at that level of impact, where going from things that would take you hours to just seconds, and the scale is undeniable. Like, I think productivity for everybody on this planet is going to go through the roof. Now, some people may say we don't want that, we don't want productivity. But I look at this. Look, it frees up time. It frees up time to do the more valuable things that you want to do, and these logistical things will disappear.
I can imagine what our world would look like if everything takes 3 seconds. And what do you do for the rest of the time?
I don't know. Like, I mean, look, before the internet, we were copying paper, we're printing and copying paper, right? Then we will find a typo, then we have to go back and edit it and print it again, right? Then we have to fax it. We have to fax it places, and we have to wait for the fax to arrive. And then the fax machine will be out of ink, and then you have to replace that fax machine ink. And then, I mean, like, so you think about, like, all those things, I don't think anybody misses that. I don't think people miss that at all. And yet I feel like our everyday is busier than ever. So I don't know, like, how do we make time to fix the fax machine and print paper and kind of like like, we found time to do all of those things. And and now our lives are busier than ever. So we replace that kind of admin time with other things, right?
That makes sense. That makes sense. I would definitely don't want to go back to the word processor.
Yeah, I mean, imagine, like, the typewriter, word processor typewriters, you make one mistake, you gotta start over. I mean, it's well, yeah, I think that's the world we're heading to now, that you don't even have to spend time thinking about writing an email. You can ask the thing to draft an email for you, and it actually drafts one. No spelled, you don't need spell check because it is spelled correctly, right? It's like, so all these things, the machine's able to do these things correctly, per your guidance, without you having to be perfectly correct when you're guiding it.
Everyone in the Silicon Valley is closely developing something related to AI. What is your advice to those startups?
Well, I mean, look, startups, well, AI is pervasive. Everybody is doing something relative to AI, big or small, right? Deep or shallow, right? It's going to be, some people just have, change they would just have their company name plus .ai, and now they're AI company, but they, nothing's changed, right? But so I think you're gonna have everybody doing something with AI, deep or small. But look, I mean, we've been through tech waves like this before. Um, internet was a perfect example of it, right? I mean, remember, .com didn't exist. What is this .com business, right? That didn't exist, and now every company in the world has a .com, right? And so I would say that to survive, to survive in something like this, you have to have enduring value, right? If you're in Silicon Valley, you're building a company, and what is the enduring value that you provide, right? That are you building something that anybody can come in and build in a short amount of time and compete with you, or worse, a big company can come in and do it better than you, right? And so is there enduring value that you're building? If you're building enduring value, I think you're going to be able to compete for a long, long time. If not, I mean, the world's moving so fast, so many people getting into it, that the value proposition you have can be devalued very quickly if there are lots of players who can do it easily, right? So I always encourage people to think about making sure that their technology has a moat that allows you to defend it, a moat that allows you to actually be unique, be able to offer unique value, and unique value over some period of time.
If you can change one thing in your life, what would it be?
I'd love to. I mean, look, one of the things that entrepreneurs, if you like being an entrepreneur and being in a startup environment, especially in startup in Silicon Valley, um, there's just not enough hours in the day. There's just not enough hours in the day. You're spending a lot of time with your company, with your work. It's your child, and you treat it like that, and so you have to figure out how to constantly strike balance. Um, yeah, I mean, the company, like a small child company, needs you and needs your time and needs your attention, and yet there are other things that also require attention, especially over time. When you've got 5, 6, 7 years in, you're going to 10. Those are things that certainly for me and for other entrepreneurs, I strongly encourage them to always be thinking about kind of a balance to sustain. Very few startups can be successful in a year, right? It's a very, very few. You have to plan that this is a journey that you have to do for some period of time, and then you have to make it so that it's sustainable for you, for your families, for those around you. And so that's why I'm constantly trying to figure out how to actually create better balance, and make sure that you're able to devote time to all the other things that are in our lives.
What is your philosophy of life?
My philosophy of life, I don't know. I think you look. Um, I think things come, and you can't control everything that comes your way. What you can control is what you can do in those situations. I think the good and the bad, there's some times where, the markets are soft. Sometimes the markets are wild. We're in those wild cycles right now, right? And sometimes you wish that it was a little bit less hectic, less chaotic, but I mean, there's good and bad in every situation. I think for us, it's all about kind of what we can do, right? And what is it that is our role in all of it, and do what you can as in that situation. You can apply that to companies. You can apply that to whatever you're doing, right? And so, yeah, it's you've seen not every market is like this, but right now we're going through a cycle, right? We're going through a cycle where AI is just so pervasive. It's noisy. It's got a lot of, it's changing, people feel like going too fast. But look, there's good and bad about all of these things, and you focus on what you can do, and make sure it's clear where you want to go, and navigate through the, through all of the noise that exists in the market.
And I would talk about work. So what do you like to do outside of work?
Well, I have two kids. My kids. Was it's they're try to devote time to them, and but it's like I said, with this company, you have a third kid now, and you have to devote time to the company as well. But I always kind of think that family is important. You got to devote time to the people in your lives, and but yeah, it's not too complicated for me.
Simple is better, right? Sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Well, I really appreciate your time today, Rodrigo, and that was a very informative information for our listeners. And also, I wish SambaNova Systems continue to succeed.
Great. Thank you so much, Daphne.
Thank you very much.
Okay.